What's up, Pod Pals? It is your buddy Adam, and you are checking out Podcasting Business School. This is a show where I help podcasters learn how to love their show like a hobby, but build it like a business. If you're looking for some podcasting tips around podcast growth, podcast audience engagement, podcast monetization, you are in the right spot. I'm doing a podcast audit with my new pod pal, Dr. Francis from the Lead Plus Well podcast. Dr. Francis, welcome to the show. How's it going, man?
Hi, Adam. It's a pleasure being here today. I've been following you for the past couple of months. Hey, look at that. I'm with the man. And plus, I'm looking forward to hear your very suave voice.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'll bring the grit and the bass. It'll be like a movie intro.
I need to learn that on my throat.
Yeah. You gargle with gravel and you put some rocks in your protein shake. I mean, it works every time. Yeah, I mean, you're a physical therapist. Maybe you can do some like dry needling techniques or some things in there.
Electrocute the throat.
There we go. A little E-stim. There we go. All right, so we're here to talk about audience growth, monetization, audience engagement. Those are the three areas I really like to audit. I've got a bunch of notes. What would be most helpful for you? Where would you like to start with? Audience growth, audience engagement, or monetization?
Let's go with audience growth.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So with audience growth, the first thing we need to really look at is who you're trying to target. So who's the ideal listener for your show?
I would say that the ones that have been doing physical therapy or even whatever niche they have as an employee, and they're looking at to start, that's why it's called Lead Plus Well, meaning get on leadership, because that's my journey. I started my own physical therapy staffing agency here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And now my plans for next year is actually launch a leadership coaching. I just launched yesterday that website, so I'll tell it later. But most of those people that are just, want to venture out, plus, the healthcare world, it's not getting any easier with reimbursements. So I want to help them start their own practice.
So the ideal listener is actually physical therapists. Is that right?
Yes, because that's probably what they can relate to me. But down the road might be anyone that wants to start an LLC, because I've done it.
Yes. Okay. I like this a lot. Obviously, we talked before we started recording. My wife's a physical therapist, I've got that perspective. Being, a spouse of someone that's in the business, that's in your field.
Yes.
So, I think that one thing to consider is looking at your show title, like your podcast title. I think we have to signify in there the physical therapy somewhere, like the Lead Plus Well podcast for physical therapists. There's this technique that I've used before with myself and with certain clients where, you can call everywhere that you promote this, you can call it the Lead Plus Well podcast. Your art doesn't have to change. Nothing has to change, but in the host, wherever you're hosting it, I would do an extended title for search engine optimization and just put physical therapists in there as like a subtitle, but we don't list it in the subtitle section of our podcast host. We list it on the main line, and that way it's just going to help with SEO. Because like I just reading that title, I had no idea this was for physical therapists. And I love that niche. Like I love and then in the show description, we want to think, just talking about helping physical therapists set up their own practices, becoming an independent business, entrepreneurship for physical therapists. That might be a name right there.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, that might be that may be a podcast title. And I know people that listen to my show, I bet about half the time I recommend a podcast name change or an adjustment.
Yeah.
But that's our number one SEO tool. When people are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, like they are typing in certain words. And if I'm a physical therapist, I'm looking to open up my own practice. The title entrepreneurship for physical therapists or the physical therapy entrepreneur or something like that, that pops. Lead Plus Well, I have zero idea. Like, what it means and it has meaning to you. But sometimes as creators, I'm always a fan of let's be very direct and kind of vanilla, but have really good SEO with our podcast show title.
Yes.
And then we can get more creative and cute with the episode titles. Like that's where we can be fun and kind of have like the inside joke with our audience or whatever.
Yes.
Have like that more meaningful title to us. So that's something to think about. So I think the title, either an extended title or a slight rebrand, the word entrepreneurship, physical therapy, the physical therapist entrepreneur, entrepreneurship for physical therapists, something like that. And that definitely needs to be in the show description. That's going to help pull in the right audience, because we don't want audience just for audience. We want the right audience. I want your 1,000 true fans where, you know, at the 30-day mark, a key benchmark I set for my clients and my members and anybody I talk to in the podcasting space. Once you release an episode at 30 days later, I want that episode to be at 1,000 downloads. So that gives you your 1,000 true fans. And that's what we're looking for. If you get 1,000 physical therapists listening to your show every single week, that's a great start to when you launch an academy, a coaching program, a mentorship program. You know, I've got all sorts of monetization ideas for you, but just getting the easy stuff is the SEO. Like that's the low hanging fruit. So the podcast title, the podcast description, and then each episode title as well. That's where I would have you. I mean, you being in the space, you know the questions that people are asking that you can solve. So what I would challenge you to do is maybe write down the top 10 to 20 questions that you think physical therapists have about opening their own practice. Like what would they type in Google to find out? Okay, so how do I start an LLC? How do I get my insurance covered as a physical therapist? Then you take all of those questions and those are your next 10 episode titles right there.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Because now our episodes are searchable in Google. The search engines are scooping all these up so that episode can get popped right in and when they search, and now they're tuning in. So that's something to think about as well. So that's kind of the low hanging fruit when it comes to growing your audience. But then you look at podcast player ads. That's something like where do you listen to podcasts? You're listening on Apple or Spotify?
Spotify.
Okay.
Spotify. Right.
So like Spotify, you can run ads now, like on Spotify, audio ads. But then there are also smaller podcast players like Overcast.fm, where you can run banner ads. And if I can score a new subscriber for $5 or less, I'm pretty happy with that. That's a subscriber, not a download. That's always like to clarify that. So if you have 100 episodes, you get one new subscriber. They may binge listen. They're like, this is exactly what I need to know. That's 500 downloads. So, or 5 new subscribers. You know the math. So that is something that I really like is podcast player ads. Podcast interview swaps, getting on. See, with you've got an advantage because you're in the health space and the entrepreneurship space. So you could network with people in the entrepreneurship space. And like my friend Evan, he has a show called Be Good to Future You. He talks a lot about forming LLCs and things like that. So you could have him on your show as a guest to talk about LLCs as an expert. And then you can go on his show and talk about, forming, helping physical therapists become entrepreneurs. And anybody that's in that world from his world is going to get scooped up and cross over into your show. So but then you could also do the same thing with health shows. So you're on a health show talking about physical therapy and this and that, but also you promote what you do from the business side. And then you have health experts come on your show, just like tools of the trade for physical therapists and things like that. Maybe there's a new technique. Like I mentioned, my wife likes to nerd out on dry needling and cupping and, all the things.
There you go.
I've got a great story about our son when he was like, I think he was probably about 5 or 6, and he got a hold of her cupping cups. And he just started putting them all over his legs, and we had to explain to his school like what all those purple like marks were. It looked like an octopus got hold of him or something. We're like, this isn't child abuse. He just got a hold of my wife's cupping cups. But so that was, physical therapy joke. But like, you get new techniques, anything that's tools of the trade, those would be great people to have on your show. And then you can do interview swaps. So that's going to work. Now, what are you doing as far as marketing on social media now? Are you putting up, video clips? Are you having audiograms? Like, and where are you posting? Like, how much actual marketing are we doing right now?
I think I heard one of your episodes. When you're starting, good thing I actually went to Streamyard and just have it both video and audio. So I'm now running at 22 episodes. So so at least I think that's where I get, because YouTube I think is for the optimization more. I don't get a lot of views there, but I have a lot of views in Facebook. But coming back to your suggestion, I like that. I'm niching down with physical therapists, but the game players for the rehab world is the physical therapist, the occupational therapist, and the speech language pathologist. I wonder if I can do it like a lead plus 12 for rehab professionals.
Yes.
There you go.
And then, okay, let's talk content and monetization, because now you're getting into my wheelhouse here with
there
this.
You go.
Because it's like, okay, when I was a gym owner, I was competing with other gyms. But if I become a consultant for gym owners that shows them how to be a better gym owner, all of a sudden, all my competitors, now they're my clients. You know what I'm saying? So you're doing the same thing where you go, obviously you're a doctor of physical therapy, you've got all this experience, but you have created your own practice. You are your own boss. And now you're showing all these other people that are from quote unquote former competitive companies with yours. Now you're showing them how to do the same thing. And so like what we're doing here, you could do an audit style episode for their physical therapy practice idea. So let's say that a physical therapist that's working for another company. They're working for a chain, or they're working for Athletico or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, I want to come out, I want to start my own practice. Well, you have them come on your show and you do, we'll call it an audit. It doesn't have to be that, but it can be like an on-ramp session of, you've got the first 3 steps that they absolutely need to know if they are going to launch a successful practice on their own. And maybe it's, branding, insurance, and, real estate location or something like that, or whatever your first steps are. And you have them fill out a little bit of information like you did for me, but you take them through those initial stages and just show off your ability to coach in this manner. Expert positioning. I'll say it a million times every episode, and I'll say it a million times in the future. It's key, because you are wanting to be a leader of this type of person. These are the people that are paying you for consulting, coaching, membership, small group coaching, whatever you decide to offer. So positioning yourself as an expert, and it's great content, and it's easy content, because now the privacy factor, that's where you probably don't mention their name, because maybe they don't leave their company. Like, they don't want to get in trouble with their company that they're currently with. So maybe those are audio only. You don't do video for those. Yeah, that because like with you coming on here, you want to promote your podcast. We're like, let's do video. Let's blast it everywhere. So it's a little bit different. So that may be an audio only, maybe first name only situation. Maybe you don't mention the company that they're with. Probably wouldn't. But you just have this little process of, this is my physical therapy practice launch process. Here are the first 3 steps that we're going to cover in this session. You're going to come on my show. You get a free coaching session. Normally this would cost XYZ dollars, and it's great content for my show. So they win, you win, your audience wins, because your audience, like you said, you've been listening to my show for a couple of months. Now you're on the show. We're interacting one-on-one. It's a win, because you are my ideal listener. You know what I'm saying? And you have the questions of my ideal listener, and these people will too. So how's this hitting you so far? How's this sounding as an idea that you can actually implement?
It's freeing. I feel like at episode 20, I feel like, okay, is this working or not? So I need an expert to guide me on this journey, because I'll be honest with you, coming from where I'm coming from, my big why, I need to do this because I'm a breadwinner. We're homeschooling. I have special needs children. So I need to do this as a career.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm coming from. That's why if I'm going to do this, I rather have a mentor that has done it, and I trust you, Adam. I don't listen to a lot of podcast trainers there, but when I hear your stuff, I know this guy really knows what he's doing. So I want to affirm you
Dang.
for that.
Well, thank you. I accept that. I accept that compliment. Thank you very much, man. That means a
Yeah.
lot. So I love it when people have a big why like that. Like coming from the health space, the weight loss space. I used to always tell people like you want to change your life and get healthy. The why has to be bigger than the combined force of all the why nots. But that's true with any goal, whether it's business, life, anything. So you've got this giant why.
Yeah.
You've got a giant amount of experience. You are doing the thing that you're already there that other people want to do in your space.
And I'm
That's
like,
the recipe.
I have a patient after you. See that? Real life. Like
Hustle.
hustle. There we go. Real times. Hashtag real time.
Hashtag real time. Dr. Francis is in the car getting ready to heal someone as soon as we are done today.
Oh, by the way, it's giving a unique taste of private practice a good thing, because right now with the things, you can also ask your wife, the Medicare and everything, all those happening in the insurance world, I really want to encourage private pay.
Yeah.
So that's probably my difference from other what do you call this, consultants. They're starting their private, because they want to get insurance and everything, but I really like to go for private pay. At least there's no red tape with that.
And I love it because I know, like, my wife has kicked around the idea of going on her own before too, and like I know the questions that she's had that have popped up in this process. So here's my overview. And of course, I'll send you all my notes here, like I said, in the next 24 hours or so. But I really think next steps for you, number one, look at the potential rebranding, SEO, getting a little bit better language in there, and we can kick some ideas around with that. But then map out the top 10 questions that physical therapists have that they will put in Google with the question mark at the end. Like, what is that? You know, what is that statement, that question statement about LLCs, insurance, getting paid direct, referrals, you know, all of the roadblocks. Those are your next episodes. Those are all solo episodes. And then I would highly recommend you network with, you know, I'm sure you've got colleagues and people that have thought about launching their own practice and they aren't there yet. Go, hey, I've got this podcast. I would love to have you on. It'll be private. You will not, your name won't be out there. The video, it'll be all, you know, privacy is very important. But I'm going to give you a free coaching session to go through, like, we got to come up with a good name. You don't want to call it just a free coaching session. Like when I call this a podcast audit, that gives a little flavor, and it makes it, because people, if you go free coaching session, I don't know, it's like a free consultation. People don't take it very seriously. But I go, hey, sign up for a podcast audit. You're going to be a guest on my show. We're going to audit your download growth, your monetization, and audience growth strategies, your audience engagement strategies. It has that rhythm and rhyme to it. So figure out what that is, and then get somebody that you already know to come on, maybe 2 to 3 people that you know, and bring them on and do one of these sessions. But then as you put these episodes out, like you'll see when we're wrapping up here, I'll go, hey, and if you guys want to do one of these, go to the blah, blah, blah website, and it'll start to self-fill. It'll market itself. But you've got to get 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 people that you already know. And then announce it on the episode, and people go, wow, this is really cool. And it, you know, like I picked up a lot from this, and it's drawing in the exact right listener. These are my most downloaded episodes because of people like you asking the questions that you're asking, and this discussion that we're having. It serves the ideal listener, and the same thing will happen for you. So is that making sense as just kind of like next steps go?
Yeah, and plus, you know, I want to use the word coach, but it's kind of formal. That's why you said maybe having a different name for you, like a buddy or a comrade or something.
Well, I mean, I just think the main naming thing is what you call the session. I wouldn't call it a coaching session. I like the word on-ramp, like the physical therapy practice on-ramp session. This is like when you're driving, you got to take the exit and get on the on-ramp to change directions. So something like that. The physical therapy practice on ramp. I like that a lot, actually. So
Yeah, there you go.
You know, or getting started, the starting your own practice, blah 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 process. The 3 steps to start your physical therapy practice. The first, you know, just like little naming strategies like that we see that are all very attractive that suck us in when we get emails like that. Like if you were to name something and it would be an email title, would you open it? Like that's the type of language that we want when you name it. So yeah, focus on that, and then you just be Dr. Francis. And like, I like your personality already. I can tell that you are very relatable and a real person. So you don't need to mess with that at all, man.
Yeah.
But I think
go ahead. I asked about timing, Adam, because right now like February to before Thanksgiving, that's like we see busy patients. Come holiday season, we're dwindling down. Plus, I own the practice, so starting a Facebook group, do you think this is a good timing, or will that be like something that's because energy, that the time that I'll invest on it, that's why I'm a little hesitant to do it. But one practice, the alternative career, I forgot the group, has like 35,000 members, and they have a niche for real professionals on there. So I wonder, is it worth it to start something like that or a group on Facebook?
Okay, so my personal advice on Facebook groups for you is I wouldn't have you start one fresh. I would have you be an expert contributor in one that's already very active. All right. And what I would do, this is going to work. Like this is going to work, especially with your personality. I'm sure you're a member of some sort of physical therapy Facebook groups, just like where there's just a bunch of physical therapists in there. Maybe they're talking business, maybe they're talking skills, whatever. You go in there and you go, hey guys, hopefully you've been active in there, and they'll know oh, this is Dr. Francis. I don't know if you know this or not. I've got a podcast. I'm going to start doing special episodes where I want to help more physical therapists launch their own practice. And I have my blah, blah, blah on-ramp session. I would like to invite any of you to come on if you'd be willing to come on help and create some content with me. And you just say, DM me if you want the link, and it's free, and it's a part of my show, and it would be great to have you on. I bet you'll have at least half a dozen, 10 people that'll crawl out of there and go, yes, this is a discussion I've been afraid to have. I'm nervous about it because I don't know. You're there. They want to get there. Let's go. Okay. And that's like you doing that. And then what I would have you do, and like in the ideal Facebook group is a more of a general physical therapist Facebook group. It's not going to be specific for what you do. Like you want to be that niche expert in a broader community. And then you start posting content, almost like a mini blog post or like a video or something where you're like just teaching a little topic of, here's a big roadblock on something you have to watch out for when you guys start your practice. I thought this might be helpful. And, I've gotten a full episode on this. If you guys want to check it out, it's episode blah, blah, blah of the Live Plus Well podcast. Like dropping little nuggets of knowledge like that. I'd much rather you see you go in there, because it's going to be tough road. If you start your own and then you've got 10 people in there and nobody, I'd much rather you go into Facebook groups and clubhouse rooms that are full of physical therapists. It's already well run. It's already active. Let everybody else do all that maintenance stuff, and you go and just be you and contribute and pull them into your podcast world. And then we're in their earbuds every week. That's the magic. All right. And I think that's going to be much more efficient because you're busy. Like you got a busy home life, you got a busy business life. But so that's what I would start doing. That's why I use the rest of this year to really get in there, network, start experimenting with some of these ideas. And I think that you're going to have some winners. And we haven't had much time to talk monetization, but I think coaching, VIP days, workshops, all those things, I've got some episodes that I'm going to send you that I've recorded that are specific on that. But just like a VIP days and consultations are kind of the same thing for me, but it's like a 3 to 5 hour block where you're just focusing on one person. And these are high ticket. Usually these are $2,000 or $3,000 plus per session. But it's you're taking them on this journey from point
Correct.
A to point like F. You're taking them several steps down the road. So things like that, I think you do really well. Specific workshops on forming an LLC,
Yep.
getting insurance. Do we get paid through insurance? Do we accept insurance or not? These are workshops. These are lead magnets. These are episodes. So
there's a lot, right? Like just looking at it, man, what will I start for? And also at least publish one simple book, doesn't hurt. I'm looking at that next year. So yeah, that's a lot. So meaning I'm in like a mode right now, Adam, after a year of running the business. Yeah, it pays the bill. So it means maybe I'm doing something good. So I'm in a stage right now that, hey, I'm in a Netflix zone that I have options right there, but I don't know what to pick. That's why I need you, Adam.
Well, we can get you pointed in the right direction for sure. Now, before we wrap up, I want to make sure that you get a chance to shout out your brand, your website. Where can people dive into your world, check out your show, all the good things? So go for it, Dr. Francis.
Yeah. This is Dr. Francis Pinola, lead physical therapist of Lead Plus Well. You can check me out at drfrancispt.com. All my bio, all the stuff that I'm offering there for coaching. I'm also active in Spotify, so Lead Plus Well. I have 3 live podcasts in YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook Live. That's it.
Outstanding. All right. And if you out there listening, if you're like, wow, I really want to do a podcast audit, just like Dr. Francis, hop on the website. It's easy. It's fun. I'm friendly. Get over to the website, www.podcastingbusiness.school, and get signed up. It's free. All right, Pod Pals. We covered a lot today. I've got a lot of notes for Dr. Francis I'm going to send his way, and I'm excited to see what you do with it. So, Dr. Francis, thank you for joining us here today. And everybody out there, as always, I'm going to sign off wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. We'll see you guys next time.